I never thought my own sister would be the person to make my daughter feel small. But there we were, sitting around my mother's dining table on a regular Sunday afternoon, when Laura looked directly at my 12-year-old Emma and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Your kid's not very bright, is she?" My name is Catherine, and what happened next changed everything. Emma's fork clattered against her plate. I watched my brilliant, sensitive daughter shrink into herself, her shoulders curling inward like she was trying to disappear. Before I could defend her, my mother, Grandma Rose, slowly reached up and took off her reading glasses. She cleaned them deliberately with her napkin, and the silence at that table became deafening. "Do you know Emma's test scores?" Mom asked calmly. Laura rolled her eyes. "Oh, here we go! Everyone's child is a genius, right?" "I do know them," Mom continued, her voice steady as steel. "I also know whose name is on my investment account." Laura stopped talking. Actually, she stopped moving entirely. The color drained from her face. "Do you think you know where this is going?" Let me back up. Laura is my older sister by 3 years, and she was always the golden child. Straight A's, captain of the debate team, full ride to Cornell. I was the artistic one who went to state school. When I got pregnant at 24 with Emma, Laura made her opinions clear. When Emma's father and I split up 2 years later, her "I told you so" didn't need to be spoken. It was in every pitying look. But here's what Laura didn't know. Emma was exceptional. By age 7, she was reading at a 10th grade level. By 9, she'd taught herself coding. At 12, she'd just been accepted into Riverside Academy's gifted program with a partial scholarship I'd worked 3 jobs to supplement. She'd scored in the 99th percentile on her entrance exams. But Emma was quiet, introverted. She didn't brag, which in Laura's mind translated to not very bright. Laura's 2 loud, athletic boys played travel soccer and talked constantly about their achievements. So she decided her nephews were superior to my daughter in every way. The comments had started small and grew sharper over the years. "Does Emma have friends? She seems so isolated." "Maybe you should get her tested for learning disabilities." Each comment was a paper cut that together bled. I'd tried confronting Laura privately. She'd accused me of being overly sensitive. I'd tried limiting contact. She'd complained to our parents. What would you have done? Emma had started asking to skip family dinners. She'd developed stomach aches before visits with Laura's family. My bright, curious daughter was dimming, and I was running out of ideas. That Sunday was supposed to celebrate Mom's 72nd birthday. Emma had baked a lemon cake from scratch and decorated it with sugar flowers she'd learned from YouTube. "Oh, how rustic," Laura had said when she saw it, and Emma's proud smile faltered. Through dinner, Laura dominated conversation as always. Tyler scored 3 goals in soccer. Josh was selected for advanced math. Their lives were a constant highlight reel. Then Laura turned to Emma. "So Emma, how's school? Still in regular classes?" "She's doing great," I interjected. "I wasn't asking you, Kathy," Laura said. She looked at Emma. "Are you doing great? Making friends? Understanding your homework?" Emma nodded silently, pushing peas around her plate. "She doesn't talk much, does she?" Laura addressed the table as if Emma wasn't there. "That's concerning. Kids should be more engaged." Then came the killing blow. "Your kid's not very bright, is she?" After Mom's comment about her investment account, the table went silent. Laura's face cycled through confusion, realization, anger, and fear before settling on a forced laugh. "What's that supposed to mean?" Her voice had gone up an octave. Mom folded her hands. "It means exactly what I said. I know Emma's test scores because Catherine sent me her acceptance letter to Riverside Academy. She scored in the 99th percentile. The school called her one of the most promising young minds they'd seen in years. I stared at my mother. I'd sent her that letter 3 weeks ago, but hadn't known she'd paid such close attention. Mom continued, I also know Catherine has been working herself to exhaustion to afford Emma's tuition, which is why I've decided to adjust my education fund. It will now cover Emma's expenses through high school, and what's left will go toward her college. What about Tyler and Josh? Laura's voice was tight. They have their soccer scholarships to work toward, don't they? You're always telling us how talented they are. Mom took a sip of water. But Emma needs this support now, and frankly, Laura, after years of watching you belittle your niece, I've decided where my money will do the most good. Can you imagine the look on Laura's face? Laura didn't apologize. She grabbed her purse, told her husband to get the boys, and stormed out. The door slam rattled the windows. Emma looked up at me with wide eyes. Is Aunt Laura mad at me? No, sweetheart, Mom said. Your Aunt Laura is mad at herself, but she doesn't know it yet. The week after, Laura didn't call. Not me, not Mom. Radio silence. Emma seemed lighter, freer. She stopped getting stomach aches. Mom made good on her promise and restructured her education fund. Then she did something unexpected. She mentioned it to her friends at book club, her neighbors, the women at church. In her social circle, word spread fast. By week 2, family members were calling. Some supportive, others less so. Laura's mother-in-law complained to Mom that it was unfair and punishing innocent children. Mom apparently told her that ensuring one child gets an excellent education isn't punishment for others. By week 3, Laura finally called me to rage. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mom's friends are talking about us, about how my kids aren't good enough. This is humiliating. I didn't do anything, I said calmly. You did this with every mean comment, every belittling word. I was trying to help. Emma is so withdrawn. I was concerned. No, you were cruel. There's a difference. You weren't concerned about Emma. You were concerned about making yourself feel superior. She hung up on me. But then something unexpected happened. Mom called a family meeting a month after the infamous dinner. She invited everyone, me and Emma, Laura and her family, aunts, uncles, cousins. I almost didn't go, but Mom insisted. Trust me, she'd said. We gathered in Mom's living room on a Saturday. Laura wouldn't look at me. Emma sat close to me on the couch, and I kept one arm around her shoulders. Mom stood in front of the fireplace. I've asked you here because I want to talk about family, about honesty, and about change. Laura, I love you. You're my firstborn, and you've accomplished wonderful things. But somewhere along the way, you started measuring your worth by putting others down. Laura's face flushed red. Mom, I don't... Let me finish. Mom's voice was firm. Catherine and Emma are family. Treating them the way you have isn't acceptable. I didn't restructure my investment account to punish you. I did it to support a child who needs it and to show you that actions have consequences. But I'm also not interested in holding grudges. So, Laura, you're going to apologize to Emma. A real apology. And then we're all going to work on being better to each other. Laura looked like she'd been slapped. For the first time in my life, I saw tears in my sister's eyes. Laura started, then stopped. She looked at Emma, really looked at her. Emma, I'm sorry. I said mean things about you, and that was wrong. You didn't deserve that. Emma nodded, but didn't speak. She was still wary. I think Laura should get to know Emma better, Mom said. Catherine, what if Emma showed Laura some of her coding projects? Emma shrugged. I guess. That's how Emma ended up showing Laura her self-designed website about local wildlife, complete with interactive maps and a database she'd built herself. Tyler and Josh crowded around too, actually interested. I watched Laura's expression shift from forced politeness to genuine surprise. Emma, did you really make all of this yourself? Emma nodded. It's not that hard once you learn the basics. Not that hard. Laura laughed, but this time it wasn't mocking. Emma, I can barely use Excel. This is incredible. Was I supposed to feel vindicated? Because I did. Do you think that's petty? That afternoon didn't fix everything. Laura didn't transform overnight. But it was a start. She began asking Emma real questions about school, about her interests. She stopped comparing Emma to her boys. The cutting remarks disappeared. 3 months later, Laura called me on a Tuesday night. Can we talk? We met for coffee the next day, just the two of us. I've been thinking a lot about how I've treated you and Emma, Laura started, stirring her latte without drinking it. I was jealous. Of you. Of me? Laura, you're the successful one. That's just it. None of it's perfect. Mark and I have been struggling. His business hasn't been doing well. We're under financial pressure. The boys' travel soccer costs a fortune. Our mortgage is suffocating us. And there you were, working 3 jobs but happy. Emma's thriving despite you being a single mom. You weren't drowning like I was. I didn't know what to say. When Mom changed the investment fund, I was furious. But then I realized I was furious because I'd been counting on that money. I'd spent years tearing down your daughter while secretly hoping to benefit from Mom's generosity. That's disgusting. You're not disgusting, I said, surprising myself. You're human. But Laura, you hurt Emma. You hurt me. For years. I know. She finally looked at me. How do I fix it? Time, I said. Consistency. Actually showing up as a good aunt and a good sister. Laura nodded. I can do that. And she did. Slowly, gradually, but genuinely. She started attending Emma's school events, robotics competitions, science fairs. She brought Tyler and Josh, and the boys started seeing their cousin as someone cool. When Emma's project won first place at the regional science fair, Laura posted about it on social media with genuine pride. She also started opening up to me about her struggles. Our coffee meetings became regular. We were building something we'd never really had, a real relationship. Emma blossomed at Riverside Academy. Her teachers sent home glowing reports. She made friends who appreciated her quiet brilliance. She joined the coding club and environmental science team. At home, she smiled more, laughed more, stopped shrinking into herself. About 8 months after the infamous comment, we were all gathered at Mom's again. Emma was showing Tyler and Josh a new app she'd designed to track soccer stats, and the boys were genuinely excited. Laura caught my eye across the table and smiled. A real smile, soft and a little sad but genuine. After dinner, Emma pulled me aside. Mom, I'm glad Aunt Laura is different now. Me too, baby. Grandma Rose is pretty smart, huh? I laughed. Yeah, she really is. Do you think Aunt Laura really changed, or is she just being nice because Grandma controls the money? I think it started because of the money, I admitted. But I think it's real now. People can change for the wrong reasons and still end up in the right place. Emma nodded. That's kind of hopeful, actually. She was right. My sister had been cruel, faced consequences, and those consequences sparked real change, not just in her behavior, but in her understanding of herself and what actually mattered. Was the revenge satisfying? Absolutely. But you know what felt even better? Watching Emma gain confidence. seeing her shoulders straighten, her voice grow stronger, her smile come more easily. That was the real victory. Here's what I learned. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about forcing them to see the truth and creating space for something better to grow. Mom's revenge wasn't petty or cruel. It was strategic and ultimately constructive. She didn't just punish Laura. She gave her a chance to become a better person. Today, Emma is 14. She's thriving at Riverside Academy, talking about careers in environmental science or software engineering. Laura and I talk regularly. We're not perfect sisters, but there's respect now. When she looks at Emma, I see pride instead of contempt. Tyler and Josh actually think Emma is cool now. They're constantly asking her for help with school projects. Emma, who once shrank from family gatherings, now shows up excited to see her cousins. Sometimes I think about that moment at the dinner table. It was the worst moment and the best moment all at once. The worst because of the pain it caused Emma. The best because it finally forced everything into the open and created the catalyst for real change. Emma still asks me sometimes, "Do you think Aunt Laura really means it?" And I tell her the truth. I think she does. People mess up, sometimes badly. But some people also learn and grow and become better. Your Aunt Laura is doing that. My wise, brilliant, no longer shrinking daughter gets it. So that's my story. How my mother's quiet revenge ended up saving our family instead of breaking it. How consequences became catalysts. And Emma? She never was not very bright. She was and is absolutely brilliant, in ways Laura finally learned to see and appreciate. That might be the sweetest revenge of all. I'd love to hear what you think. Did my mom do the right thing? Would you have handled Laura differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. I really value different perspectives. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button. And if there's something you disagreed with, I definitely want to hear about it in the comments. Thank you so much for listening.